Hello, and welcome back to Today English Podcast. My name is Laura, and I'm here to guide you on your journey to clear, confident, and natural English. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss a lesson. Your support truly helps this channel grow. All right, take a deep breath, relax, and let's begin today's session. I want you to imagine something simple, something quiet, something calm, something you can almost feel in your body as you listen. Imagine a small room. Not your room, not my room, but a quiet room somewhere in your mind. In this room, the light is soft, and the air feels slow, almost gentle, like it knows you came here to rest. This room has no noise, no rush, no pressure. It is just a quiet place, waiting for you. And as you sit in this room, you start to notice something very interesting. Your mind is not quiet. Even though the room is silent, your thoughts are busy. They jump around like small birds. They tell you things. They remind you of tasks, ideas, worries, dreams, plans, memories. And maybe you think, why can't I focus? Why does my mind always move? And if you have ever asked that question, today's story is for you. Because today, we are going on a long journey, a simple journey, a slow journey, but a powerful journey into the world of focus. And not focus like a strict rule or a difficult skill. Not focus that feels heavy or uncomfortable. No. Today, we explore focus the way a storyteller explores a mystery, the way a traveler explores a path, the way a child explores a new world. Today, we explore focus through simple English and clear ideas, through kind narration and calm thinking, through a story that moves with you, not against you. So, let us begin. Let us step deeper into this quiet room. Let us open the door to a new way of paying attention. And while you listen, let the English flow. Let the words come to you like water. Do not force anything. Do not hurry. Just listen, and let the language enter slowly, like soft sunlight entering a window. The story begins with a young man named Leo. Leo was not special in the way movies show special characters. He was not a hero, not a genius, not someone with amazing talent. He was just a normal person with normal dreams, normal worries, and a normal life. But he had one problem that never left him. He could not focus. Every time he wanted to work, his mind wandered. Every time he needed to learn, his attention drifted. Every time he tried to speak English or listen to English, he felt lost after a few minutes. He wanted to improve. He wanted to grow. He wanted to feel proud of himself. But his focus felt weak, like a candle in the wind. One day, Leo sat in his room feeling tired. He had a book in front of him, a simple English book, but he could not stay with the sentences. His eyes moved across the page, but his mind moved somewhere else. He felt frustrated. He felt heavy. And he whispered to himself, why can't I stay with one thing? Why can't I keep my attention on what matters? He closed the book and closed his eyes. And in that quiet moment, he heard a small thought inside his mind, like a soft voice. Maybe you need a new strategy. Maybe your mind is not the problem. Maybe the way you use your mind is the problem. Leo opened his eyes. That idea felt strange but interesting. He wondered, what if focus is not a natural skill? What if focus is something I can build, something I can shape, something I can train? This question stayed with him all day. It followed him when he went to work. It followed him when he came home. And that night, he decided to take a walk. He stepped outside, and the city lights glowed softly. The evening air felt cool against his skin, and the world around him seemed slower than usual. He walked without a plan, without a destination, and he let his mind breathe. As he walked, he remembered something his grandmother used to say, you do not need to control the whole world. You only need to control where you place your eyes. She said it with a smile, as if it were the simplest secret in life. And Leo suddenly realized something. Focus is not about controlling everything. It is about choosing one thing at a time. It is about giving one thing your eyes, your ears, your mind, your heart. As he continued walking, Leo noticed something else. Every time he looked at a building, he really looked. Every time he heard a sound, he really listened. Every time he felt the ground under his feet, he really felt it. And for the first time in a long time, his attention was not jumping. It was resting. It was settling. It was calm. He stopped near a small park. There was a bench under a tree, and the leaves above him moved gently in the evening breeze. He sat down and took a slow breath. In that moment, something inside him became clear. Maybe I lose focus, he thought, because I never practice focus. Maybe I expect my mind to stay still when I never teach it how to stay still. Maybe I need to start from the beginning. And that is the moment his story truly begins. Not the moment he realized he had a problem, but the moment he decided to learn. The moment he decided to grow. The moment he decided to change his relationship with attention. And this is where you and Leo meet. Because you are also here to learn. You are also here to grow. And you are also here to change your relationship with focus and with English. So now, imagine Leo sitting on that bench. Imagine the soft wind. Imagine the quiet park. Imagine the calm inside him. And think about your own focus. Think about the times you wanted to learn English but got distracted. Think about the moments you wanted to listen deeply but your mind drifted. Think about the times you felt frustrated because you could not stay with one idea for long. It is okay. You are human. Your mind is designed to move. But learning to guide that movement, learning to direct it, learning to shape it, that is a skill. And you are about to learn it. Leo stood up from the bench and felt a small spark of hope. He walked home with a new idea. Maybe focus is not something I need to fight for. Maybe focus is something I create. The next morning, he woke up a little earlier than usual. The sun was not fully up, but the sky had a soft gray-blue color. He sat at his small desk with a cup of warm tea. The room was quiet. The world was slow. And he told himself, today I will practice focus. Not for hours. Not in a difficult way. Just a few minutes. Just a beginning. He opened his English book again. But this time, he did not read fast. He did not try to finish a chapter. He chose one sentence. Only one. And he read it slowly, word by word, sound by sound. He let each word enter him gently, like a drop of water falling into a still pond. And something amazing happened. His mind stayed with the sentence. For the first time in a long time, he was not fighting with his thoughts. He was not trying to force attention. He was simply present. After a few minutes, he closed the book and smiled. Maybe this is the way, he thought. Maybe small moments of focus can grow into big moments of focus. And slowly, a new story began to form in his life. A story of simple habits. A story of gentle attention. A story of patient practice. And in this story, he discovered something very important. Focus grows where patience exists. Focus grows where kindness exists. Focus grows where pressure disappears. And this lesson will follow us through the entire journey of this podcast episode. Because learning to focus is not a race. It is not a war. It is not a fight. It is a slow and soft practice, like watering a plant. Little by little, day by day, with care, with calm, with clarity. As days passed, Leo continued his small focus practice. Sometimes it was reading one sentence in English. Sometimes it was listening to a short audio. Sometimes it was simply sitting in silence for 1 minute. And every time he practiced, he felt a small shift inside him. Not a big, dramatic change. Not a sudden transformation. Just a gentle improvement, like a light wind moving the leaves of a tree. And maybe you have felt something like this too. Maybe you have had moments when you felt your attention settle. Maybe you have had moments when English felt easier, when listening felt clearer, when speaking felt more natural. And if you have felt those moments, remember them. They are signs of growth. They are signs that you can change, that you can improve, that you can become the focused person you want to be. One evening, after a long day, Leo sat again in his quiet room. He turned off his phone. He closed the door. He breathed slowly. And he whispered to himself, "I think I am beginning to understand." But he did not fully understand yet. He had only touched the surface of focus. The deeper lessons were still ahead. Lessons about distraction. Lessons about habits. Lessons about the mind. Lessons about how to speak English with calm clarity. Lessons about how to listen with patient attention. Lessons about how to create a focused life, not just a focused moment. But every journey needs a beginning. And Leo's beginning was simple. One quiet room, one slow breath, one small sentence, one moment of presence. And maybe this is your beginning too. Maybe this podcast episode is your quiet room. Maybe my voice is your slow breath. Maybe this story is your sentence. And maybe right now, in this moment, you are practicing focus without even trying. You are following the narrative. You are listening to each word. You are letting the English flow. You are staying present. You are already growing. And that is the magic of storytelling. It teaches without forcing. It guides without pushing. It transforms without pressure. And as you listen to the rest of this long, gentle journey, you will discover many simple, smart strategies to improve your focus. But more important than strategies, you will discover a new relationship with your attention, a new relationship with your learning, and a new relationship with yourself. And so, Section 1 ends where it began, in the quiet room of your mind. With a soft breath, with a calm heart, with a small shift inside you. And as we close this section, take a moment to reflect. Think about one thing you learned. Think about one thing that felt clear. Think about one thing you want to try. And when you are ready, we will move forward. We will go deeper. We will follow Leo as he discovers the next steps of focus. And we will continue this long, gentle journey together. Because this story is not only about Leo. This story is about you. And the next chapter is waiting. The next morning, when Leo woke up, something felt different inside him. It was not a big feeling, not a loud feeling, not an exciting feeling. It was a quiet shift, a small change, something soft but real. He sat on the edge of his bed and listened to the silence in his room. And for the first time in a long time, he did not feel rushed. He did not feel behind. He did not feel like he had to run. He simply felt present. But as he sat there, a new thought came to him, gentle but clear. If focus feels so good, why do I lose it so easily? This question stayed in his mind as he brushed his teeth, as he made a simple breakfast, as he opened his window to let in the morning air. The world felt fresh, but his thoughts had a familiar pull. They moved quickly. They jumped from one thing to another. They wanted to think about the past, the future, the problems, the plans. And Leo suddenly realized something important. His mind was a wandering mind. Not a bad mind. Not a broken mind. Just a wandering one. A mind that liked to move. A mind that liked to explore. A mind that liked to run in many directions at once. And maybe your mind is like that too. Maybe your attention moves even when you want it to stay. Maybe your thoughts jump even when you want them to rest. Maybe you feel frustrated, thinking, why can't my mind just stay with one thing? But here is the truth Leo was about to understand. Wandering is natural. Wandering is normal. Wandering is human. The problem is not that the mind wanders. The problem is that we never guide it back with gentleness. As Leo walked to work, his mind continued to wander. He noticed people passing by. He noticed cars moving on the street. He noticed the sound of the morning city. But inside his mind, other things moved too, memories from childhood, worries about the future, lines from songs, ideas for dreams, and random thoughts that appeared from nowhere. Suddenly, Leo felt a wave of frustration. He thought, why can't I just focus on what I'm doing? Why can't I stay with the moment? But then he remembered the feeling he had in the quiet park, the feeling of simply paying attention without fighting. And so, instead of getting angry at himself, he tried something new. He said softly in his mind, "Come back." Just 2 simple words. And slowly, his attention returned to his steps, to the feeling of his shoes touching the ground, to the rhythm of his walk. For a moment, he felt calm again. But then, a few seconds later, his mind wandered again. This time it wandered to a conversation he had with a friend last week. And again, he brought it back. Come back. He continued walking. And again, the mind left. And again, he returned it. Come back. It was a strange practice, almost like training a small bird that liked to fly away. But Leo felt something interesting happening. Each time he called his mind back, it returned a little faster. It resisted a little less. And in those small moments, he realized that maybe he had been misunderstanding focus his whole life. Maybe focus was not about staying still. Maybe focus was about returning. Returning again and again, gently, without anger, without judgment. And as this idea formed in his mind, he felt a soft smile growing on his face. Maybe my mind is not my enemy, he thought. Maybe my mind just needs guidance. At work, Leo sat at his desk and opened his computer. He had tasks to do, emails to answer, numbers to organize. But he decided to continue practicing his new idea. Every time he noticed his attention drifting away, he gently said in his mind, "Come back." And something surprising happened. For the first few minutes, it was difficult. His mind kept escaping. It wanted to think of everything except work. But the more he practiced bringing it back, the more focused he became. Not perfectly focused. Not dramatically focused. Just gradually focused. Like a cloud slowly clearing from the sky. At lunch, he sat alone at a small cafe near his office. He ate slowly and watched people walk by outside the window. And as he watched, he had another realization. Everyone's mind wanders, he whispered to himself. Everyone struggles with attention. Maybe I am not the only one. And he was right. Focus is rare today, but not because people are weak. Not because people are lazy. Not because people lack discipline. Focus is rare because the world is loud. The world is busy. The world is full of small things that pull our minds in every direction. Notifications, messages, videos, conversations, worries, ideas. The world does not teach us how to focus. The world teaches us how to move quickly. But the brain is not built for constant speed. The brain is built for gentle attention. And Leo was finally learning how to give himself that attention. When he returned home that evening, Leo sat again in his quiet room. The same room from section 1. The same soft air. The same calm light. He took a slow breath and whispered, "Why does it feel so peaceful here?" And the answer appeared inside him, because here, you listen. He realized that when he entered this quiet space, he naturally became more present. He naturally slowed down. He naturally gave the moment his attention. And this gave him a new idea. Maybe focus begins with environment, he thought. Maybe focus grows where noise decreases. Maybe focus grows where space opens. Maybe focus grows where I can hear myself. And so, he decided to experiment. He looked around his room and asked himself, what if I create small focus spaces in my life? Not only in this room, but in other places too. And that evening, he walked around his home and noticed something. His desk was full of papers. His table had too many objects. His bed had clothes on it. His phone was always close to his hand. Everything around him was full. Everything around him wanted his attention. And in that moment, he understood something important. The mind cannot focus when the world is noisy. The mind needs space. The mind needs clarity. The mind needs room to breathe. So Leo began by cleaning his desk. Slowly, calmly, he removed extra objects. He organized his books. He made space. When he finished, he looked at the desk and smiled. It felt simple. It felt clear. It felt like a place where focus could grow. Then he turned off unnecessary notifications on his phone. He put the phone in another room. He made space in his environment, and with that, he made space in his mind. Later that night, he opened his English book again. But instead of reading many pages, he chose just one paragraph. He read it slowly, letting each sentence enter his mind like a soft wave. And this time, when his attention drifted, he did not get frustrated. He simply said, "Come back." And it returned. He continued reading. His mind wandered again, and again he returned it. And soon he realized that he felt calm. He felt stable. He felt present. Not because he forced focus, but because he practiced returning. And as he read, something beautiful happened. The English sentences felt clearer. The words felt easier. The story felt more alive. And he understood something new. You learn better when you are present. You understand better when you are calm. You listen better when your attention is gentle. This lesson touched something deep inside him. It was a soft truth, but a powerful one. And maybe you can feel it too. Maybe when you listen to this podcast, when you listen to this simple English, when you follow this slow narration, you feel more focused than usual. Not because you are trying hard, but because the story pulls you in. Because the words move like a quiet river. Because the pace allows your mind to breathe. This is the power of slow language. This is the power of gentle listening. This is the power of story-based focus. The next morning, Leo left home early and went for a walk before work. The street was quiet. The air felt fresh. The sky was soft. And as he walked, he practiced something new. Instead of letting his mind wander freely, he gave it small tasks. He told himself, for the next 10 seconds, I will only listen to sounds. And so he listened. He heard footsteps on the sidewalk. He heard birds. He heard the distant sound of a bus. After 10 seconds, he paused. Then he told himself, for the next 10 seconds, I will only feel my breathing. And he felt the air move in and out of his chest. He felt his body expand and relax. Then he told himself, for the next 10 seconds, I will focus only on what I see. And he really looked at the world. The colors, the shapes, the movements. These small 10-second practices surprised him. They were simple. They were easy. And yet, they made him feel grounded, present, awake. And he wondered, why does this help me so much? And then he realized, when I give my mind a small job, it stays with me. When I give my mind too big a job, it runs away. And in this moment, he understood a major truth of focus. Small focus builds big focus. Just like small steps build long journeys. Just like small habits build strong change. Just like small words build full language. And with this realization, he felt the beginning of real transformation inside him. Over the next few days, Leo practiced something even deeper. He decided to observe his distractions. Not fight them. Not avoid them. Just observe them. Every time his mind wandered, he asked himself, where did it go? And he discovered something surprising. His mind wandered to the same places again and again. It wandered to worries about the future. It wandered to old memories. It wandered to things he wanted but did not have. It wandered to conversations he wished he had said differently. It wandered to dreams he was afraid to chase. And he realized something important. Distractions are not random. Distractions have roots. Distractions come from inside. They're messages. They're feelings. They're signals. And instead of treating them as enemies, he decided to treat them as teachers. When his mind wandered to worry, he asked, "Why am I worried?" When his mind wandered to the past, he asked, "Why does this memory stay with me?" When his mind wandered to dreams, he asked, "What do I really want?" And slowly, he began to understand himself more deeply. And this understanding gave him more power. Because when you understand your distractions, you take away their control. When you know why your mind moves, you learn how to guide it. And Leo felt this growing wisdom like a quiet light inside him. One evening, after a long practice session, Leo sat by his window and watched the sun disappear behind the buildings. The sky was painted with soft orange and pink, and the air moved gently against the glass. He felt proud of himself. Proud not because he was perfect. Proud not because he never got distracted. Proud because he was trying. Proud because he was learning. Proud because he had discovered a new relationship with his attention. And as he sat there, he realized something important. Focus is not about control. Focus is about connection. Connecting with the moment. Connecting with the body. Connecting with the breath. Connecting with the words. Connecting with the story. And he thought, if I can connect with this moment, maybe I can also connect more deeply with English. Maybe I can listen with more presence. Maybe I can speak with more clarity. Maybe I can understand with more calmness. As the night grew darker, he whispered, "I think I am beginning to see the truth." But he knew there was more to learn. Much more. He had understood wandering. He had understood returning. But he still needed to learn how to build strong focus. How to create a mind that not only returns but stays. How to rise above distraction instead of fighting it. How to use attention as a tool instead of a struggle. And that journey would begin in the next step of his story. For now, he sat quietly in his room, breathing slowly, letting the calm fill him. And as he did, a simple thought moved through him. I can change. And maybe you can feel this too. Maybe as you listen to this gentle narration, you feel something shifting inside you. Maybe you feel a little more present. Maybe you feel a little more focused. Maybe you feel a little more connected to your learning. And if you do, that is not an accident. That is the beginning of your transformation. And as section 2 comes to a close, take one moment to breathe. One moment to notice where your mind is. One moment to return. Because the next chapter of this journey will go deeper. It will show you how to build focus that lasts. Focus that supports your English. Focus that supports your life. And when you are ready, we will continue together, step by step, breath by breath, word by word. In the days that followed, Leo began to notice something interesting about himself, something subtle but strong, something that changed the way he walked through the world. Every time he practiced returning his attention, every time he whispered, "Come back," every time he slowed down his breath and brought his mind home to the moment, he was building something inside himself. At first, he didn't have a clear name for it. It felt like a soft strength. It felt like a calm weight. It felt like something stable inside him that didn't move, even when his thoughts moved. And one morning, as he sat at his desk with a warm cup of tea in his hands, he finally found the right word for it. He whispered slowly, "An anchor." An anchor, something that holds a ship steady when the water is moving, something that keeps a boat still when the waves are restless. Maybe that's what focus really is, Leo thought. Not a tight force. Not pressure. Not control. But an anchor. A calm, steady center inside me. And this idea began to change everything for him. Because once he understood that focus was not a fight, not a battle, Not a push, but a gentle returning to his inner anchor. The process of learning, listening, speaking, and living became easier, softer, and more peaceful. As he walked to work that morning, he paid attention to his steps in a new way. He watched the world move around him, the cars, the people, the sunlight bouncing off windows, the leaves shaking in the breeze, but he stayed connected to something inside himself. He stayed connected to his breath, to the feeling of air moving in and out of his chest, to the soft rhythm of his body. And for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel pulled in every direction. He didn't feel overwhelmed. He didn't feel lost in thoughts. He felt anchored, quiet, stable, present. Maybe this is what I've been missing, he thought. Maybe I've been trying to force my mind to stay still, when what I really needed was something gentle to hold it. And as he walked, he realized that this anchor was not only for focus, it was also for English. Because every time he listened to English in the past, he tried to understand everything at once. He tried to catch every detail. He tried to push himself to be perfect. And that pressure made him lose focus. But now he told himself, what if I listen to English the way I stay with my breath? What if I build an anchor for my listening too? And that idea made him excited, hopeful, curious. Later that day, during a break at work, Leo took out his phone and opened a simple English audio clip he liked. It was short, only about 1 minute long, something he normally listened to quickly without much thought. But this time, he tried something new. Before pressing play, he took a slow breath and told himself, stay with one thing. Then he pressed play and listened. But he didn't listen with pressure. He didn't try to understand everything. He didn't try to catch every word. He simply stayed anchored. He stayed connected to the sound, to the rhythm, to the natural flow of the speaker's voice. And something surprising happened. The English felt clearer. The sentences felt smoother. The meaning came more naturally. And for the first time, listening didn't feel like a test. It felt like music. It felt like a slow river. It felt like something his mind could relax into. After the audio ended, he smiled softly to himself. Maybe focus is not about doing more, he thought. Maybe focus is about doing less. Less rushing. Less multitasking. Less worrying. More presence. More listening. More anchoring. And this realization made him feel lighter, as if a quiet door had opened inside him. That evening, after returning home, Leo decided to go deeper. He sat in his quiet room again, the room that had become his small sanctuary, his training space, his peaceful corner of the world. The light was warm, the air was still, and his mind felt calm. He sat with his back straight, his hands resting softly on his legs, and he closed his eyes. He took a slow breath in and a slow breath out. And he imagined a small anchor inside his chest, glowing softly, peacefully, gently. Every time his thoughts wandered, he returned to that anchor. Every time his mind drifted, he returned again. And the simple act of returning made him feel strong, not in a loud way, but in a quiet way, like the steady strength of a mountain. After a few minutes, he opened his eyes and felt a warm sense of clarity washing over him. And in that quiet moment, he made a promise to himself, I will build this anchor every day. I will let focus become something natural, not forced. I will grow this strength slowly, like planting a seed. In the days that followed, Leo tried something new. He applied his inner anchor to different parts of his life. When he ate slowly, tasting each bite, feeling the texture, noticing the flavor. When he walked, he noticed each step, the weight of his body, the movement of his muscles. When he talked to someone, he listened fully, without thinking about what he would say next. And every time he stayed present, every time he anchored himself, he felt more calm, more alive, more connected to the world. And he began to notice something surprising. The more anchored he felt, the better his English became. When he listened to English podcasts, he stayed focused longer. When he spoke English with coworkers, his sentences flowed more easily. When he studied vocabulary, he remembered more without trying so hard. And he realized something important. Focus and English are not separate skills. They support each other. When I am present, English becomes easier. When I am calm, learning becomes smoother. One afternoon, Leo sat in a small cafe with a notebook in front of him. He wanted to write down what he had learned so far. He wrote slowly, thinking carefully, letting each idea settle in his mind. He wrote, "Focus is a gentle returning." Then he wrote, "The mind wanders. That is natural." Then, "The anchor is inside me." After a moment, he added, "Small moments of presence create big change." When he finished writing, he looked at the page and felt something deep inside him shift. He realized he was not only learning how to focus. He was learning how to live. He was learning how to experience his life with more clarity, more peace, more joy. And he wondered, why didn't I know this earlier? Why didn't anyone teach me this in school? But then he smiled softly because he understood. Some lessons cannot be taught early. Some lessons must arrive at the right moment. And this, right now, was his moment. Later that week, something happened that surprised him. During a meeting at work, Leo suddenly felt overwhelmed. People were talking quickly. Questions were being asked. Information was moving fast. His mind started to run. His attention began to slip. And for a moment, he felt that old panic rising inside him, the panic of not keeping up, not understanding, not being able to focus. But then, something inside him remembered. Something quiet. Something strong. He closed his eyes for 1 second, just one small second, and he whispered in his mind, "Anchor." And instantly, he felt a shift. His breath slowed. His thoughts softened. His attention returned to the moment. And he was okay again. He listened. He understood. He spoke clearly when it was his turn. And when the meeting ended, he felt something warm inside him. Confidence. Not loud confidence, not big confidence, not dramatic confidence. Gentle confidence. The confidence that comes from knowing you can find your center, even when the world feels fast. And he realized this is the power of the anchor. It doesn't stop the world from moving. It helps me stay stable while the world moves. That evening, as he walked home under the soft glow of the streetlights, Leo felt proud of himself in a new way. Not because he never got distracted. Not because he was perfect. Not because he had total control of his mind. But because he was learning how to return. Because he was learning how to stay calm. Because he was learning how to anchor his attention. And as he walked, he thought about you, the listener of this story, the learner on the other side of this podcast, the person trying to improve focus and English at the same time. He imagined someone listening to this episode while walking, while cleaning, while studying, while resting. And he whispered softly, almost like a message sent across time and space, "If I can learn to focus, you can too. If I can build an anchor, you can build one too. If I can change my relationship with my mind, you can change yours too." When Leo arrived home, he opened his window and let the cool night air enter his room. The sky was dark but peaceful. The city noises were softer. And he stood there for a long moment, breathing slowly, feeling the calm in his body. He realized that the anchor was not something he needed to create every time. It was already there. He just needed to remember it. He just needed to return. And he understood something even deeper. Maybe focus is not the goal. Maybe presence is the goal. Maybe attention is not about effort. Maybe attention is about awareness. This realization made him feel light, almost as if a gentle weight had lifted from his chest. And as he prepared to sleep, he whispered, "I think I'm ready for the next step." Because he knew that learning to anchor himself was only the beginning. The next part of his journey would teach him how to build lasting focus, how to train his attention like a quiet muscle, how to stay present not just in calm moments, but also during difficulty, frustration, distraction, and challenge. As Section 3 comes to a close, think about your own anchor. Think about the moments when you feel calm. Think about the breath that brings you back. Think about the gentle voice inside your mind that says, "Come back." And remember this, you do not need to fight your focus problems. You only need to guide your attention softly, patiently, kindly. Because you, like Leo, are learning to build an inner anchor. And this anchor will take you far, much farther than you think. Now take one slow breath. And when you are ready, we will move into the next part of the journey, a deeper, stronger, clearer exploration of long-lasting focus. In the quiet days that followed, Leo began to understand something deeper about himself and about focus, something he had never recognized before, something that changed the way he practiced every moment of his life. He realized that while the anchor inside him helped him return to the present, it did not automatically make his focus last for a long time. Returning was beautiful, gentle, calming, but staying for 10 minutes, for 20 minutes, for 30 minutes, staying with one thing, that was a new challenge, a deeper challenge, a challenge that required not just softness, but also strength. And one evening, as he sat at his desk with a clean notebook, he told himself, maybe now it's time to train long focus. Not just small moments, not just short returns, but long, steady, patient presence. He felt a little nervous because long focus had always been difficult for him. Every time he tried to study for a long period, his mind ran away. Every time he tried to listen to English for more than 5 minutes, he felt lost. Every time he tried to speak for a long time, he felt tired. But now, with his new anchor, he was ready to try again in a different way, a kinder way, a slower way. He wrote at the top of his notebook page, "How to train long focus." And under that, he wrote, "Step 1, make focus easy." When he wrote it, he smiled. Because it sounded strange. Most people think focus needs to be hard. But Leo had learned that the easier the beginning, the stronger the skill. The next morning, he decided to start small. Very small. Instead of trying to focus for 30 minutes, he set a timer for only 5 minutes. 5 minutes of calm attention on one task. He chose something simple, listening to a short English audio. Before he pressed play, he took a slow breath. He reminded himself of his anchor. He relaxed his shoulders. And then he started. For the first minute, he felt calm. For the second minute, he followed the sentences comfortably. But in the third minute, something happened. His mind started to wander. A thought appeared. Then another. And another. But this time, he didn't feel frustrated. He didn't say, "I should be better." He didn't say, "Why can't I stay focused?" Instead, he said his gentle words, "Come back." And his attention returned. Then it wandered again. And again he returned. At the end of 5 minutes, he stopped and smiled to himself. He had wandered many times, but he had returned many times too. And that, he realized, was the real training. Long focus was not about never drifting. Long focus was about returning again and again until it became natural, until the drifting became shorter and the returning became faster. He decided to repeat his 5-minute practice every morning. And each day, something small but important changed. On the first day, he felt distracted 15 times. On the second day, he felt distracted maybe 12 times. On the third day, maybe 10 times. On the fourth day, maybe 9. The change was small but real. And he understood that slow change, Even tiny change is still change. As he continued his practice, he slowly increased the time. 5 minutes became 7. 7 became 10. 10 became 12. And one morning, when he sat down and listened to a 12-minute audio, he realized something beautiful. He stayed present almost the whole time. Not perfectly, but calmly. Not tightly, but softly. And after the audio finished, he felt something warm in his chest, the feeling of progress. And he whispered to himself, maybe long focus is like growing a tree. You don't see the growth each day, but after a while, you see something beautiful standing in front of you. One afternoon, Leo visited a park near his home. The air smelled like fresh grass, and the sound of children laughing moved gently through the space. He sat under a large tree, feeling the soft shade on his skin. And he began to think about his life before this journey. He remembered the days when he couldn't focus for more than a minute without getting lost in his thoughts. He remembered the frustration, the pressure, the heavy feeling. And he smiled softly, because now things were different. Not perfect, but different. He felt calmer, clearer, more connected. And as he sat there, he had a new idea. What if I combine movement with focus? He stood up and began walking slowly through the park. He decided to practice staying with his steps for 1 full minute. But halfway through the minute, his mind drifted. He thought about work. He thought about dinner. He thought about messages on his phone. But he returned. And returned again. And something interesting happened. He realized that long focus did not have to happen only when sitting still. It could happen while moving, while walking, while living. And this made him feel more free, more capable, more human. That evening, Leo tried something new. He sat in his quiet room with a small candle in front of him. The flame danced softly, glowing with a warm, gentle light. He decided to use the candle as a focus object. He told himself, stay with the flame for 1 minute. He watched the light move. He watched the shadows shift. He watched the soft glow breathing on the wall. But after a few seconds, his mind wandered. He thought about his plans. He thought about his past. He thought about random things that came from nowhere. But he returned. And every time he returned, the flame felt clearer, brighter, calmer. After 1 minute, he stopped. Then he tried 2 minutes. The same happened. His mind moved. He returned. And slowly, he understood the lesson the flame was teaching him. Focus is like light, he thought. It shines when I stay with it. But if I leave it, it disappears. And he promised himself, I will stay with the flame. I will let my mind learn the calm of the moment. As days passed, Leo added more challenges to his long focus training. He tried reading English for 12 minutes without stopping. At first, it was difficult. His mind wandered many times. But he kept returning. And slowly, the sentences felt smoother. He tried listening to a longer English podcast. Again, his thoughts moved. But he guided them back gently. He tried studying vocabulary with full presence. Words that he normally forgot quickly stayed longer in his memory. And he realized something powerful. Focus is fertilizer for learning. When I am present, everything grows. And this understanding made him feel excited about his future. He saw that this was not only about focus. This was also about the person he was becoming. Someone patient. Someone aware. Someone calm. Someone capable of listening deeply. Someone capable of speaking clearly. Someone who could stay with one thing long enough to understand it fully. One morning, Leo experienced something unexpected. As he sat at his desk practicing long focus, he felt bored. The boredom felt heavy, uncomfortable, almost frustrating. And for a moment he wondered, is something wrong? But then he realized something very important. Boredom is part of long focus. Boredom is the gate you must pass through to reach a deeper level of attention. He remembered a line his grandmother once told him, "Gold lives behind the mountain of boredom." At that time, he never understood what it meant. But now he finally did. Boredom was not a sign to stop. It was a sign to continue. It was the moment when the mind asked, "Do you really want this?" And Leo whispered back, "Yes." So he stayed. He stayed through the boredom. He stayed through the restlessness. He stayed through the discomfort. And slowly, something magical happened. The boredom began to dissolve. The restlessness began to soften. And underneath it, he found a deeper calm, a deeper focus, a deeper presence. And he whispered, "This is long focus. This is what I was looking for." That afternoon, while walking home through the soft evening light, Leo realized that something inside him had changed. He no longer saw focus as a mountain he needed to climb. He saw it as a place he could rest in, a peaceful place, a place he could return to at any moment. And he realized that long focus was not about pushing harder. It was about staying longer, staying gently, staying patiently, staying like a river stays in its path. And as he walked, he felt grateful for this new understanding. He felt grateful for his wandering mind. He felt grateful for his anchor. He felt grateful for his slow growth. And he felt grateful for the quiet strength he was discovering inside himself. Later that night, Leo sat with his notebook again. He wanted to write down what he had learned about long focus. He wrote, "Long focus is not natural at first. It grows slowly." Then he wrote, "Distraction is part of the training." Then, "Returning builds strength." Then, "Boredom is a door, not a wall." And finally, he wrote, "Patience is power." When he looked at the sentences, he felt something warm inside him. Because these were not just notes. These were reminders, guides, messages to his future self. And maybe they are messages for you too. Because long focus is not only for Leo. It is for anyone who wants to listen deeply. It is for anyone who wants to speak clearly. It is for anyone who wants to learn with presence. It is for anyone who wants to live with intention. As Section 4 comes to a gentle close, imagine Leo sitting in his quiet room, feeling calm, feeling clear, feeling steady. Imagine him holding his breath softly, feeling his anchor inside him, feeling his long focus growing day by day. And imagine yourself sitting with him in that quiet space. Because you're on this journey too. With every word you listen to, with every moment you stay present, with every return to your attention, you are building your own long focus. And this journey will continue. It will grow deeper, stronger, clearer in the next part of this story. When you are ready, we will move forward together. In the days that followed, Leo began to notice something new about his journey, something he had expected but never fully prepared for, something every learner faces sooner or later, the return of distractions, but this time bigger, louder, stronger. It happened on a day that began like any other. The morning was calm. The sky was soft. The air felt gentle. Leo woke up feeling stable and focused, proud of the progress he had made. He prepared his tea, opened his window to let in the fresh morning light, and felt ready to continue his long focus training. But life does not always move in straight, simple lines. Some days are smooth, and some days feel like storms. And on this particular day, distractions appeared like dark clouds forming suddenly in the sky of his mind. It started when he sat at his desk to practice listening to a long English audio. He clicked play, expecting the usual calm. But within seconds, his mind started running. Thoughts rushed in. About work, about responsibilities, about unfinished tasks, about future problems that didn't even exist yet. He told himself, "Come back," but the thoughts didn't listen. He tried again, softer, "Come back," but this time, the thoughts grew louder. He felt his breath grow shallow. He felt his chest tighten. The calm he had built over days started to fade. And for a moment, he felt afraid. He whispered to himself, "What is happening?" But deep inside, he already knew. He was entering the storm of distractions. The next stage of focus training. The challenge every learner must face when they grow. Because when your attention becomes stronger, your distractions try to grow too. He stood up from his desk and walked slowly around his room. His heart felt heavy, his mind felt chaotic, and his thoughts felt like a fast river that would not slow down. He wondered, why now? Why today? Why does it feel so hard all of a sudden? But a small, gentle truth appeared inside him. Growth brings challenge. When you grow one level, life tests you to see if you are ready for the next. And today, his test had arrived. After a few minutes, he sat back down, took a deep breath, and tried again. He pressed play on the English audio. But this time, he didn't try to control his thoughts. He didn't fight them. He didn't push them away. He simply noticed them. He watched them move like heavy clouds passing across the sky. And as he watched, he realized something powerful. Distractions are temporary. They come like weather. They move like storms. But storms do not last forever. Still, it was not easy. His mind kept wandering. He returned again and again, but each time felt like work. Real work. Hard work. And after a few minutes, he paused the audio and whispered, "Maybe I need a different strategy." He decided to go outside and take a walk, hoping the fresh air would calm the storm inside him. As he stepped into the sunlight, he felt the warmth on his face. He breathed deeply, letting the cool air fill his lungs. He listened to the sounds of the neighborhood, cars passing, people talking, a dog barking in the distance. But even with all this, his mind remained busy. Thoughts continued to rush. Distractions continued to jump. And he felt frustrated. But then something interesting happened. A memory came to him, one he had forgotten for years. He remembered a day from his childhood when he was learning how to ride a bicycle. He remembered falling many times. He remembered feeling scared. But he also remembered what his father told him. When you fall, don't get angry. Just get back on the bike. That is how balance grows. And Leo realized the same was true with focus. The storm was like falling off the bicycle. The only way to grow stronger was to get back up. To return. To try again. Not perfectly. Just patiently. He continued walking, letting the memory settle in his mind. As he walked past a small park, he saw a group of children playing. They ran around freely, laughing, falling, getting up, and running again. None of them cried when they fell. None of them complained. They simply kept trying. And Leo smiled softly, because he understood the lesson. Children are the best focus teachers. They fail without fear. They try without pressure. They play without thinking about success. And he wondered, what if I practiced focus with the spirit of a child? What if I returned without judgment? What if I allowed myself to fail and return and fail again and return again without expecting perfection? This thought made something lighten inside him. It made him feel free. He sat on a bench, watching the children, and whispered, "I think I can do this." When he returned home, the storm was still there, but he felt stronger. He felt ready. He sat at his desk, closed his eyes, and took a deep breath. He whispered to himself, "This is just a storm. I can stay calm." He opened his English audio again. He pressed play. And he listened. The thoughts came back. But this time, he didn't panic. He didn't fight. He stayed with them. He let them rise and fall. He held on to his anchor, gently, lightly, calmly. And slowly, the storm inside him began to soften. Not completely. Not immediately. But enough for him to breathe. Enough for him to stay. Enough for him to continue listening. And near the end of the audio, something amazing happened. The thoughts quieted. The noise softened. The storm loosened its grip. And suddenly, he felt present again. He felt focused again. He felt clear again. And in that moment, he understood something he had never understood before. Distraction is not the opposite of focus. Running away from distraction is the opposite of focus. Staying with distraction, moving through it, breathing through it, that is real focus. This realization felt like a key unlocking a new room inside his mind. That evening, Leo decided to take his learning deeper. He opened his notebook and wrote, "Distractions will come. They are part of the journey." Then he added, "The storm teaches me to stay." And finally, focus grows when I don't run. After writing, he closed his notebook and leaned back in his chair. He felt tired, but in a good way, the kind of tiredness that comes from doing real inner work. He looked around his quiet room and felt grateful for the storm. Because without it, he would never have learned this deeper lesson. He would never have grown into this new version of himself. He would never have discovered his strength. He realized that storms do not arrive to break us. They arrive to show us how strong we can be. But the storm was not finished teaching him. The next morning, another wave of distraction arrived, but this time it came in a different form, emotional distraction. Leo woke up feeling uneasy. Not sad, not angry, just unsettled, as if something was moving in his chest. He couldn't explain it. He didn't know why. But the feeling stayed. And when he sat at his desk to study English, the feeling grew stronger. He couldn't pay attention. He felt too emotional. His thoughts were blurry. His heart felt heavy. And he whispered, "Not today. I can't focus today." But then, something inside him said, maybe focus is possible even on days like this. Maybe focus is not about feeling perfect. Maybe focus is about staying with myself, even when it's hard. And so, he decided to practice focus with emotion, not against it. He closed his eyes and placed a hand on his chest. He breathed slowly and told himself, "It's okay to feel this. I can still listen. I can still return." He opened his English audio again. But this time, he didn't expect clarity. He didn't expect calm. He only expected presence. He told himself, "Just stay with the words. Let them wash over you. Don't push away your feelings. Let everything exist." And something gentle happened. The English words felt softer. They felt like waves moving through him. And even though he didn't feel perfect, he felt present. Present with the words. Present with the emotion. Present with himself. And he realized something new. Focus does not demand perfection. Focus welcomes emotion. Focus grows when I accept myself. This realization moved him deeply. It made him feel more human, more whole, more kind toward himself. Later that day, he walked outside again. The storm had softened now. Not because it disappeared, but because he had learned how to walk through it. As he moved through the city, he felt something powerful growing inside him, a new kind of confidence. Not loud confidence, not big confidence, but quiet confidence. The confidence of someone who knows he can face storms and still stay standing. The confidence of someone who knows focus is not a straight line but a dance. A dance between distraction and return. A dance between wandering and anchoring. A dance between noise and stillness. And he whispered to himself, "I am learning to dance." That evening, Leo sat with his notebook again. He wrote, "Storms come to teach me. I learn by returning." Then, after a long moment of thinking, he added, "I don't need to be perfect. I just need to stay." He looked at the words and felt peace washing over him. Because now he understood something that changed everything. Distractions do not destroy focus, they train focus. And once he learned this, he could face anything. As section 5 ends, imagine Leo sitting quietly in his room, feeling calm after the storm, feeling stronger than yesterday, feeling ready for the next step of his transformation. And imagine yourself sitting beside him, learning the same lesson. Distractions are not your enemy. They are part of your training. With every return, you grow. With every storm, you become stronger. And the journey continues. The next chapter will take you deeper into a new understanding of clarity, energy, and mental space. In the days after the storm of distractions, Leo began to feel something new in his mind, something he had not felt in a long time, something quiet and bright, something he could not fully describe at first, but could slowly sense growing inside him. It was clarity, a soft kind of clarity, not loud or perfect, but gentle like early morning light. And it surprised him, because it did not arrive on a calm day. It arrived after chaos. It came not when he felt peaceful, but after he had walked through the noise. And he thought to himself, maybe clarity is not found before the noise. Maybe clarity is found after it. One morning, he woke up earlier than usual. The sun had not fully risen. The sky still held that soft blue-gray color of dawn. He sat by his window, listening to the quiet world around him, and he felt a new question forming in his mind, a question that made him curious. What is mental clarity, really? And how do I make it grow? He realized he had been learning how to focus, how to return, how to stay, but he had not yet learned how to create space in his mind, space where ideas could grow, space where English could live, space where understanding could breathe. And so, he decided that this next stage of his journey would be about clarity, not just the focus of attention, but the space inside attention, the openness that allows learning to happen smoothly. That day, Leo made a plan. Not a strict plan, but a gentle one. He would spend the next few days paying attention to the noise in his life, the noise outside and the noise inside. Because he knew that clarity was not created simply by wanting it. Clarity came when noise softened. So he started with the outside noise. He looked around his room and realized how many small things were pulling his attention. The notifications on his phone, the open tabs on his computer, the pile of papers on his desk, the messages waiting for replies, the small tasks he had been avoiding. Each little thing was like a tiny voice calling his name. And Leo whispered, "No wonder I feel crowded inside." He decided to take one small step. Not to clean everything, not to fix everything, but to create a little space. He turned off the notifications that weren't important. He closed the tabs he didn't need. He put away the papers that distracted him. And little by little, the outside noise around him softened. He felt a small sense of relief, like taking the first breath after being underwater. And he thought to himself, clarity begins with space. The next day, he continued. Not cleaning, not organizing, but simply reducing noise. He decided to try something new with his phone. He placed it far away from his desk during his listening practice. And for the first time, he noticed how free his mind felt without the possibility of interruption. He listened to a long English story, and even though he still wandered sometimes, he felt more spacious inside. The sentences felt clearer. His thoughts felt slower. His mind felt quieter. And he realized something important. Clarity is not silence. Clarity is space. He wrote those words in his notebook, smiling as he wrote them because they felt true, deeply true. But then he understood that the real challenge was not the noise outside. It was the noise inside, worries, doubts, fears, old memories, future thoughts, small anxieties that drift in and out like birds flying across the sky. He knew that if he wanted true clarity, he had to learn how to move through that inner noise too. One morning, he decided to sit quietly with his thoughts. He woke up early again, before sunrise, and sat on the floor of his room with his back against the wall. He closed his eyes and let his thoughts move freely. Some thoughts were gentle. Some were heavy. Some were fast and confusing. But he didn't run from them. He didn't try to stop them. He simply watched them. And as he watched, something interesting happened. The thoughts began to slow down. Not because he controlled them, but because he allowed them. And he realized that thoughts, like children who want attention, get louder when you push them away. But when you let them play, they eventually calm down. He stayed there for a few minutes, breathing softly, letting his thoughts settle like dust floating down in a quiet room. And when he opened his eyes, he felt a little clearer, a little lighter, a little more spacious inside. He whispered to himself, "This is clarity." Later that day, Leo met his friend Mia at a small cafe near the river. The cafe smelled like warm bread and coffee, and the gentle sound of people talking filled the space. When Mia saw him, she smiled and said, "You look different today. Calmer." Leo laughed softly and said, "Really? Maybe it's because I'm learning to find space in my mind." Mia tilted her head and asked, "Space? What do you mean?" And Leo explained everything: the storms, the returning, the distractions, the clarity that came after noise. As he spoke, he surprised himself with how clearly the words came out. His sentences felt smooth, his ideas felt connected, and his English felt more natural. Mia listened with interest and said, "It sounds like you're learning more than English. It sounds like you're learning how to live." Leo smiled, because he felt the same. Learning English was not separate from learning himself. It was all part of the same journey. Mia told him a story about her own experience with distraction, how she would feel overwhelmed and lost during her studies. She said, "I always thought something was wrong with me." And Leo, without thinking, replied, "Nothing is wrong. Noise is normal. It's just part of being human." And when he said it, he realized he was speaking as much to himself as he was to her. That evening, Leo returned home and continued his search for clarity. He decided to try something new, focused listening with pauses. He chose a long English podcast, but instead of listening all the way through, he paused every few minutes, allowing space for his mind to catch up. And surprisingly, the pauses made everything clearer. The words felt more vivid. The meaning felt deeper. The ideas stayed with him longer. And he realized something important. Clarity needs breathing. Just like the body needs air, the mind needs moments of quiet between moments of focus. He repeated this practice several times that night. Listen, pause, breathe, reflect. And as he did, he felt like he was learning English in a new way, a way that was soft, slow, and natural. It felt like the language had room to grow inside. The next day, Leo tried another clarity exercise. He decided to speak out loud, slowly, with long pauses between his sentences. He stood in front of his mirror, looked at his reflection gently, and spoke about his day. At first, the pauses felt strange. He wondered if he looked silly, if he sounded unnatural. But after a while, he noticed something. The pauses were helping him think. They were giving his mind space to arrange thoughts before he spoke. And his English became clearer. His pronunciation became smoother. His ideas became easier to share. And he realized clarity improves speaking. It was a simple truth, but a powerful one. He continued speaking slowly, letting each sentence land softly, letting each idea breathe. And the more he practiced, the more natural it felt. He understood now that clarity was not only for listening. It was also for speaking. It was for thinking. It was for living. Later in the week, Leo decided to take a long walk through the city to reflect on his progress. The evening light was soft and golden, and the streets were filled with people moving in different directions. As he walked, he noticed something unexpected. Even though the city was noisy, cars honking, people talking, music playing from shops, he felt quiet inside. He felt clear. He felt spacious. He realized that clarity did not depend on the world around him. Clarity depended on the space he created inside himself. And this made him feel strong. It made him feel free. Because if clarity came from inside, then he could carry it anywhere, into his work, into his relationships, into his English learning, into his future. As he walked across a bridge, he stopped and leaned on the railing, watching the river flow below. The water moved steadily, quietly, without rushing. And he thought to himself, this is what my mind feels like now. A river. Moving but calm. He stayed there for a long moment, breathing in the cool air, letting the city move around him. And he realized something deep. Clarity is not the absence of noise. Clarity is the ability to see through the noise. And with this realization, he felt something shift inside him. He felt like he had reached a new level of awareness, a new level of focus, a new level of inner space. That night, Leo sat with his notebook again. He wrote, "Clarity happens when I stop fighting with noise." Then he wrote, "I can allow thoughts and still stay focused." And finally, clear mind, clear English. He looked at the words and felt grateful for everything he had learned. He felt grateful for the storms, for the distractions, for the noise, and for the silence. And as he closed his notebook, he whispered, "I think I'm ready for the next step." Because clarity was not the end of the journey. It was the beginning of a deeper one, the journey of building energy, purpose, and mental strength for long-term focus. As section 6 gently closes, imagine Leo sitting quietly in the soft evening light, breathing slowly, feeling the calm river of his mind. Imagine the space growing inside him. Imagine yourself sitting beside him, feeling your own mind becoming clearer, softer, roomier. Because clarity is not something far away. It is already inside you, waiting to be noticed, waiting to be allowed, waiting to grow. And in the next part of this story, we will continue to walk together, deeper into understanding, deeper into transformation. In the days after Leo discovered clarity, something interesting began to happen inside him, something he didn't expect, something that surprised him each morning when he woke up and each evening when he went to sleep. He started feeling a gentle sense of energy in his body, a kind of lightness, a kind of quiet excitement that he couldn't fully explain at first. It wasn't the noisy energy he used to feel after drinking too much coffee, and it wasn't the nervous energy he used to feel before an exam. This was something different. This was the energy of attention, the energy that comes when the mind becomes clear, when the body becomes calm, when focus begins to settle inside you like sunlight warming your skin. And one morning, as he sat at his desk and opened his notebook, he wrote a single sentence at the top of the page: "Focus gives energy." When he wrote it, he felt a small shock of realization move through him, because he had always believed the opposite. He had always believed that focusing drained him, exhausted him, made him tired. But now he understood that unfocused attention, distracted attention, was what drained him. The noise was what made him tired. The storms were what exhausted him. Focus, real focus, gentle focus, gave him energy because it connected him to himself. And he whispered, "Maybe this is the next stage of my journey. Not just clarity, not just calm, but energy." He decided to explore this new feeling with curiosity. After his morning tea, he sat at his desk and played an English audio lesson, just like he had done many times before. But this time, he did it differently. Instead of controlling his attention or forcing himself to concentrate, he allowed his attention to move naturally but softly. He let the words flow into him like warm water. And as he listened, he felt something he hadn't felt before. His mind was awake. His body felt light. His eyes felt bright. It was as if the English words were not just sounds, but small sparks of energy moving inside him. He followed the story for 10 minutes, then 15, then 20, and at the end he realized he wasn't tired. He felt more awake than when he started. And he thought, this is strange. Focus used to take energy from me, and now it gives energy to me. How is this possible? He reflected on this question all day. He carried it with him like a secret. And slowly, he found the answer. When the mind stops fighting itself, energy becomes free. Before, his thoughts and his attention were always fighting. One part of him wanted to focus, and another part wanted to wander. One part wanted to listen, and another part wanted to think about something else. One part wanted clarity, and another part created noise. This inner fight took energy. But now, with clarity growing inside him, the fight had stopped. The mind had begun to move in one direction. And when the mind moves together, not against itself, that is when energy appears. He became fascinated by this idea, and he wanted to explore it even more deeply. So that afternoon, he took a walk through the quiet streets near his home. The sky was bright, the air was cool, and the gentle sounds of the city created a soft background. As he walked, he paid attention to his breath, noticing how each inhale gave him a little energy and each exhale released a little tension. He realized that breathing was not just something he did automatically. It was something he could use to shape his energy, to support his attention, to guide his mind. He stopped near a small garden with flowers blooming in different colors. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Then he whispered to himself, attention is energy. Energy is breath. And the connection felt so real, so simple, so natural that he wondered how he had never seen it before. He sat on a bench and continued breathing softly, letting the clarity of his mind join the rhythm of his breath. And he felt even more energized, not in a fast or wild way, but in a calm and strong way, like a flame burning quietly but steadily. Later that evening, Leo decided to test this new understanding. He prepared a longer English listening session, one he had avoided before because it felt too difficult. It was a 40-minute story, full of rich vocabulary and complex sentences. In the past, he would get tired after 10 minutes, maybe 15. But tonight, he felt ready to try again, not with force, not with pressure, but with energy. Before playing the audio, he took a slow breath. He relaxed his shoulders. He reminded himself of his anchor and his clarity. And he pressed play. The story began gently, then became deeper and more detailed. But Leo stayed with it, calmly and steadily. His attention felt like a warm light inside him, guiding him through each sentence. He did not understand every word, but he understood enough. And when he didn't understand, he didn't panic. He simply let the sound move through him, trusting that meaning would follow. And something amazing happened. The more he listened, the more energy he felt. He didn't feel tired. He didn't feel overwhelmed. He felt focused. He felt alive. And when the audio finished, he sat back in his chair with a soft smile on his face, whispering, I did it. He felt proud, not because he finished the audio, but because he did it with presence, with clarity, with gentle energy. That night, Leo couldn't sleep immediately. Not because he was stressed, but because he felt inspired. He lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about energy in a new way. He realized that energy was not only physical. It was mental, emotional, inner, deep. And for the first time, he felt connected to his inner energy in a way he had never experienced. He wondered how many people in the world were tired not because of hard work, but because of scattered attention. He wondered how many people would feel more alive if they learned how to breathe, how to return, how to create clarity. And he felt a new motivation growing inside him, a desire to keep going, to keep learning, to keep exploring this quiet energy. Over the next few days, Leo experimented with different ways of growing his attention energy. One morning, he read a short English article very slowly, paying attention to each word. He didn't rush. He didn't push. He simply stayed present. And when he finished reading, he felt more awake than when he started. Another day, he tried speaking aloud for 10 minutes, letting his thoughts flow naturally in English. And instead of feeling embarrassed or tired, he felt energized. He realized that speaking with presence gave him more energy than speaking with fear. And he began to understand something very powerful. Energy follows attention. Wherever his attention went, his energy followed. If he focused on something stressful, his energy dropped. If he focused on something calming, his energy rose. If he stayed scattered, he felt tired. If he stayed present, he felt alive. And this realization changed the way he lived each moment. One afternoon, Leo met his friend Mia again. They walked beside the river, the water glowing in the late afternoon sun. Mia noticed the brightness in his eyes and asked, "You look full of energy these days. What changed?" And Leo smiled and said, "I stopped fighting with my mind." Then he told her everything he had learned about clarity, about breathing, about the river of attention, about the new energy he felt. Mia listened carefully and said, "It sounds like you're learning the art of being awake." Leo laughed and said, "Maybe I am." They continued walking, talking about life, about learning, about growth. And while they talked, Leo felt the same quiet energy inside him, the same warm light, the same steady clarity. He realized that this energy was not only for study. It was also for conversations, for relationships, for daily life. It made everything feel more alive. That evening, when Leo returned home, he sat by his window and watched the sunset. The sky turned gold, then orange, then soft purple. He breathed slowly, feeling the energy settle inside him. And he realized something deep. Energy is not something I find. It's something I create. And once he understood that, he felt even more responsible for his attention, for his clarity, for his inner world. He opened his notebook and wrote, "My attention is my energy. My energy is my life." And when he closed the notebook, he felt a gentle determination inside him. He was ready for the next level of his journey, the level where energy becomes strength, where focus becomes natural, where attention becomes powerful. As section 7 comes to a soft close, imagine Leo standing at his window, breathing slowly, feeling the warm, steady energy of attention inside him. Imagine the quiet light in his chest. Imagine the calm power growing in his mind. And imagine yourself standing beside him, discovering your own energy, your own clarity, your own power. Because the journey of focus is not only about concentration. It is about awakening the energy inside you. And in the next section, this energy will guide Leo and you toward an even deeper transformation. In the days after Leo discovered the quiet energy of attention, something new began to form inside him, something deeper, something more powerful, something that felt like a natural next step in his journey. It happened one early morning when he sat at his desk, ready to practice his usual listening routine. The room was silent, the soft light of sunrise touching the edges of his notebook, and Leo felt calm, present, awake. But when he pressed play on his English audio, something different happened. His attention didn't just stay, it didn't just return, it didn't just follow. Instead, it began to move in a smooth, continuous way that felt almost like floating. The words entered his ears not as separate pieces, but as one long river of meaning. His breathing softened, his body relaxed, and his mind felt both awake and peaceful at the same time. He didn't have to try. He didn't have to force. He didn't have to push. Everything felt natural. Everything felt simple. Everything felt connected. And after several minutes, he realized with a quiet shock, this is flow. He had heard the word before, but he had never truly felt it, not like this, not so deep, not so alive. It was as if his attention and the language had become one thing, moving together in a soft rhythm, without any friction, without any noise, without any effort. But flow did not come alone. With flow came a new understanding, a new feeling of natural learning. Leo noticed that he understood more than usual, not because the audio was easier, but because his mind was open and calm. He remembered sentences without trying. He felt the rhythm of English as if his body understood it. He followed the story with curiosity, not pressure. And when the audio finished, he sat still for a long moment, surprised by how peaceful and energized he felt. He whispered, "How did that happen?" And for the rest of the morning, he walked around his room thinking about it. He tried to understand what had created this flow. Was it his breathing? His clarity? His calm energy? His anchor? His steady practice? Or maybe flow wasn't caused by one thing. Maybe it was caused by many gentle things coming together at the right moment: breath, clarity, calm, curiosity, energy, presence, all softly mixing like ingredients in a quiet recipe. He spent the next several days exploring this mysterious state. Some days, flow came easily. Some days, it came in short moments. And some days, it didn't come at all. At first, he felt disappointed when he couldn't enter flow. But then he realized something important. Flow is not something you control. Flow is something you allow. Flow is something that appears when the mind is ready. So instead of chasing it, he simply created the conditions for it. He made his space quiet. He breathed slowly. He relaxed his body. He softened his attention. He let go of pressure. And when he listened with curiosity instead of expectation. And slowly, flow began to visit him more often. Not every day, not every hour, but often enough to become familiar. And each time he entered flow, he felt something deep inside him shifting, growing, strengthening. One afternoon, Leo walked to a nearby park to reflect on this new stage of his journey. The day was warm, the sky bright, and children were playing nearby, their laughter ringing through the air like little bells. He sat under a large tree and closed his eyes. He breathed slowly, feeling the soft wind on his face. And he thought about flow. He remembered how hard focus used to be for him. He remembered the storms, the noise, the wandering, the frustration. And now he was entering flow. How did I reach this place, he wondered. But the answer came softly, one step at a time. Flow was not a gift. It was a result of patience, of returning, of gentle attention, of learning to stay with himself. And he felt grateful, deeply grateful, for every struggle that brought him here. Later that evening, Leo decided to try something new. Instead of listening to English, he wanted to see if he could speak in flow. This was a challenge he had always avoided. Speaking made him nervous. Speaking made him overthink. Speaking made him self-conscious. But now, with clarity and energy inside him, he felt ready to try. He stood in front of his window, looking at the darkening sky. He took a slow breath. And he began speaking softly about his day. At first, he felt stiff. His words were careful, almost shy. But after a minute, something changed. His thoughts began to move smoothly. His words followed naturally. His voice relaxed. His sentences connected. He spoke not from pressure, but from presence. He wasn't thinking about grammar or mistakes or speed. He was simply expressing himself. And in that moment, he felt flow again, this time in his voice, in his speaking, in the rhythm of his words. When he finished, he felt proud. Not because he spoke perfectly, but because he spoke naturally, calmly, softly, with real presence. He wrote in his notebook, "Flow comes when I stop trying to be perfect." Then he added, "Flow is the language of the present moment." And when he closed his notebook, he realized something deep. Flow was not only for English. Flow was for everything: reading, listening, speaking, thinking, living. Flow was the art of staying connected to himself while moving through the world. And he felt ready to continue exploring it. As Section 8 comes to a gentle close, imagine Leo breathing softly, feeling the deep river of flow inside him. Imagine him standing in a quiet room, speaking English with calm confidence. Imagine yourself beside him, learning to enter your own flow slowly, gently, naturally. Because flow is not far from you. Flow is already inside you, waiting for the moment you soften, breathe, and allow it to rise. And in the next section, the journey will go even deeper into the art of sustaining flow, protecting it, and using it to transform learning forever. Narration paragraph. Simple spoken English, cinematic, friendly, following your rules. Here we go. Hashtag Section 8. The deep flow state. One continuous narration paragraph, extended but safe length. In the days after Leo discovered the quiet energy of attention, something new began to form inside him, something deeper, something more powerful, something that felt like a natural next step in his journey. It happened one early morning when he sat at his desk, ready to practice his usual listening routine. The room was silent, the soft light of sunrise touching the edges of his notebook, and Leo felt calm, present, awake. But when he pressed play on his English audio, something different happened. His attention didn't just stay, it didn't just return, it didn't just follow. Instead, it began to move in a smooth, continuous way that felt almost like floating. The words entered his ears not as separate pieces, but as one long river of meaning. His breathing softened, his body relaxed, and his mind felt both awake and peaceful at the same time. He didn't have to try. He didn't have to force. He didn't have to push. Everything felt natural. Everything felt simple. Everything felt connected. And after several minutes, he realized with a quiet shock, this is flow. He had heard the word before, but he had never truly felt it, not like this, not so deep, not so alive. It was as if his attention and the language had become one thing, moving together in a soft rhythm, without any friction, without any noise, without any effort. But flow did not come alone. With flow came a new understanding, a new feeling of natural learning. Leo noticed that he understood more than usual, not because the audio was easier, but because his mind was open and calm. He remembered sentences without trying. He felt the rhythm of English as if his body understood it. He followed the story with curiosity, not pressure. And when the audio finished, he sat still for a long moment, surprised by how peaceful and energized he felt. He whispered, "How did that happen?" And for the rest of the morning, he walked around his room thinking about it. He tried to understand what had created this flow. Was it his breathing? His clarity? His calm energy? His anchor? His steady practice? Or maybe flow wasn't caused by one thing. Maybe it was caused by many gentle things coming together at the right moment: breath, clarity, calm, curiosity, energy, presence, all softly mixing like ingredients in a quiet recipe. He spent the next several days exploring this mysterious state. Some days, flow came easily. Some days, it came in short moments. And some days, it didn't come at all. At first, he felt disappointed when he couldn't enter flow. But then he realized something important. Flow is not something you control. Flow is something you allow. Flow is something that appears when the mind is ready. So instead of chasing it, he simply created the conditions for it. He made his space quiet. He breathed slowly. He relaxed his body. He softened his attention. He let go of pressure. And when he listened with curiosity instead of expectation. And slowly, flow began to visit him more often. Not every day, not every hour, but often enough to become familiar. And each time he entered flow, he felt something deep inside him shifting, growing, strengthening. One afternoon, Leo walked to a nearby park to reflect on this new stage of his journey. The day was warm, the sky bright, and children were playing nearby, their laughter ringing through the air like little bells. He sat under a large tree and closed his eyes. He breathed slowly, feeling the soft wind on his face. And he thought about flow. He remembered how hard focus used to be for him. He remembered the storms, the noise, the wandering, the frustration. And now he was entering flow. How did I reach this place, he wondered. But the answer came softly, one step at a time. Flow was not a gift. It was a result of patience, of returning, of gentle attention, of learning to stay with himself. And he felt grateful, deeply grateful, for every struggle that brought him here. Later that evening, Leo decided to try something new. Instead of listening to English, he wanted to see if he could speak in flow. This was a challenge he had always avoided. Speaking made him nervous. Speaking made him overthink. Speaking made him self-conscious. But now, with clarity and energy inside him, he felt ready to try. He stood in front of his window, looking at the darkening sky. He took a slow breath. And he began speaking softly about his day. At first, he felt stiff. His words were careful, almost shy. But after a minute, something changed. His thoughts began to move smoothly. His words followed naturally. His voice relaxed. His sentences connected. He spoke not from pressure, but from presence. He wasn't thinking about grammar or mistakes or speed. He was simply expressing himself. And in that moment, he felt flow again, this time in his voice, in his speaking, in the rhythm of his words. When he finished, he felt proud. Not because he spoke perfectly, but because he spoke naturally, calmly, softly, with real presence. He wrote in his notebook, "Flow comes when I stop trying to be perfect." Then he added, "Flow is the language of the present moment." And when he closed his notebook, he realized something deep. Flow was not only for English. Flow was for everything: reading, listening, speaking, thinking, living. Flow was the art of staying connected to himself while moving through the world. And he felt ready to continue exploring it. As Section 8 comes to a gentle close, imagine Leo breathing softly, feeling the deep river of flow inside him. Imagine him standing in a quiet room, speaking English with calm confidence. Imagine yourself beside him, learning to enter your own flow slowly, gently, naturally. Because flow is not far from you. Flow is already inside you, waiting for the moment you soften, breathe, and allow it to rise. And in the next section, the journey will go even deeper into the art of sustaining flow, protecting it, and using it to transform learning forever. When you're ready, say,